The story begins with a fighter named Carter Bowl who was showcasing his strength in a match happening at a bar. At the same time, a girl named Frankie arrived there looking for Carter. When she asked the bartender, he pointed towards Carter, and Frankie hoped that this was the man she was searching for. Outside, we see a mysterious man relaxing in his car. Meanwhile, Carter was defeating opponents one after another. Just then, the same mysterious man suddenly arrived in the ring, and it was revealed that his name was Alvan Dalton. And he is a well-known UFC fighter. Seeing him, Carter's breath stopped because he knew that taking on Dalton, it's like going into the jaws of death. He soon muttered something and left from there. Sometime later, when Dalton came out of the bar, a man suddenly showed him a knife and demanded money. But Dalton was not scared at all, and just by looking at his face, the man ran away as if he had seen a ghost. Within moments, Frankie came up behind him and taunted him that people run away from him without even fighting in the ring. But Dalton didn't pay much attention to it and started applying ointment to his wound. Anyway, Frankie told him about her problem. Actually, fights and brawls often happened in his roadhouse bar, and the bouncers he had couldn't manage to stop them. That's why she was looking for a strong person. She was ready to pay a lot of money for this job. Dalton advised her to talk to Carter, but Frankie wanted Dalton to think about her offer. So before leaving, she gave Dalton her phone number. Later, Dalton was sleeping in his car at a gas station when a cop woke him up and told him to leave. But as soon as he left from there, something came to his mind for some reason. Enditati and Endishi. And he drove his car right in the middle of the train tracks. The train was rushing towards him, and then at the last moment, he changed his mind and tried to move the car. But by then it was too late. At the last moment, the train smashed the rear part of his car, and after recovering from the accident, Dalton reconsidered Frankie's offer. The next day, he reached the city of Florida, where after some searching, he saw the sign for Frankie's Roadhouse, and upon entering, he met a bartender named Laura. Then a boy named Billy also became very happy upon seeing him, because he knew about Dalton beforehand. Now Dalton adapted to the environment there and praised the beauty in front of Laura. But as soon as evening fell, the peaceful atmosphere soon turned into chaos, where people forgot everything and resorted to fistfights. Moreover, a band member also jumped into the fight. Meanwhile, Billy tried very hard to handle the situation, but Dalton remained completely calm, observing everything. At the same time, Dale and his goons arrived there, causing many customers to run away in fear. When Billy also failed to calm everyone down, Dalton took matters into his own hands. Dalton asked Dale to step outside to talk, but Dale ignored him. Dalton, without saying anything, directly went towards their bikes. Meanwhile, Dale and his goons, worried, followed him. Dale challenged Dalton to a fight, but Dalton gave them a chance to leave peacefully. But Dale was stubborn, which made Dalton even angrier, and he launched a fierce attack on Dale and his thugs. Dalton once again told them to leave quietly, but Dale refused, making Dalton even more furious. In just a few moments, he broke their bones, and in the end, he himself took them to the hospital in Frankie's car. As soon as he left the hospital, a doctor named Ellie appeared in front of him, looking quite angry. She was very fed up with this daily hooliganism, so she had decided to inform the police. But hearing this, Dalton started to laugh a little, because if the police really wanted to do something, all this wouldn't be happening. Hearing this, Ellie's anger cooled down, and she bandaged Dalton's wound. Anyway, when Dalton returned to the roadhouse, Frankie gave him his hard-earned money. Later, when Dalton was sleeping, he was dreaming about his old UFC fights. As time passed in this new city, he became friends with a girl named Charlie, who ran her own bookstore. Actually, Charlie's mother had passed away, and Charlie was now running her bookstore to fulfill her dream. Meanwhile, her father managed to make ends meet by working 2 jobs for himself and Charlie. On the other hand, we see 2 bikers named Roy and John who were going somewhere with their boss Ben in his ship. When Ben heard that Dale and his goons were crushed like ants by a new bouncer, he was furious with rage. Now he was determined to destroy the roadhouse badly. Meanwhile, at the roadhouse, some guy started causing a ruckus again. Dalton this time asked the cat to handle the situation. Dalton warned him to be wary of a man who had come with a knife. Then the cat dealt with those thugs according to Dalton's instructions, and when needed, Dalton I intervened and saved his life. Because of Dalton's coaching, Billy was gradually getting better, which made Laura quite happy. Later, we see Dalton talking to a boy named Reef and found out he is a boxer. Then Dalton called him to support Billy. And then at night, Billy and Reef together took on the responsibility of dealing with the thugs who came to the roadhouse, but soon a guy named Jim started bothering Laura for free alcohol. But at that moment, Dalton arrived, and seeing him, Jim immediately backed off. Dalton took him outside the bar and then noticed Dale and his goons. Before leaving, they said they would return soon to take revenge. Anyway, the next morning when Dalton was eating at a restaurant, he saw Ellie. Ellie and a man got into a bit of an argument, so Dalton asked her why everyone here is so angry. Ellie tried to explain to him but soon got lost in Dalton's eyes. Later, when Dalton met Frankie, Frankie showed him a picture of his deceased uncle. Then he praised Dalton's excellent work and gave him money. Dalton took the money and headed towards his boat, but suddenly narrowly escaped being run over by a car. Actually, Dale had arrived there with the intention of killing him. A scuffle started between the two, and in the process, Dalton fell straight from the bridge into the sea. Somehow, he managed to reach his boat only to find Dell waiting for him with a gun. They started fighting, but Dalton was overpowering Dell. Dalton tried hard to reason with Dell, and suddenly, a crocodile emerged from the sea and took Dell away alive. The next day, a fisherman informed Dalton that Dell might be involved in drug smuggling. If that's true, Dalton is in big trouble. Now he went to Charlie's shop to find answers. He did some research but didn't find any clues about the drug trade. As soon as he left the shop, a thug sent by Ben confronted Dalton. He came to threaten Dalton with his gun, but Dalton twisted his arm in a second. Then he sent a message for Ben saying he's messing with the wrong man, better back off now. Just then, another thug of Ben's arrived, so Dalton said, "If your boss has the guts, meet me outside the roadhouse this evening." Later, when he reached Frankie's office, he asked why Dale is after this place. Frankie didn't tell him much about it and advised him not to think too much about it. This left Dalton flooded with questions. Meanwhile, Bastas, our Ben's thug, arrived at Ben's place with his broken hand and told him the whole story. Ben was infuriated because Dalton had become a thorn in his side. At that moment, Ben received a call from his father in jail, but Ben was so angry that he threw the phone into the sea without thinking. On the other hand, we see a man named Knox whose girlfriend's husband had caught them red-handed, and now he was wandering on the street without clothes. At the same time, Ben's father Gerald called him and assigned a very big responsibility. Knox happily agreed to do the work and set out to solve Ben's problems. Meanwhile, Dalton saw that Ellie had come to meet him in a police boat. Seeing this, he was astonished. She then set out with Dalton and they reached a small island in the middle of the sea. They were comfortably drinking cold drinks, and then Ellie tried to learn about Dalton's past life, or Bhakti or B. Siddhiya. But Dalton was still hesitant to tell everything. He told Ellie that there's no use wasting time with him, and then he quietly started to leave. But Ellie didn't let him go. She said that she had done research on Dalton and knows quite a lot about him. After that, the two of them became quite close to each other. Meanwhile, in the city of Knox, Gerald arrived at Dale's house where all of Dale's friends were present, and soon Ben also arrived there. Suddenly, without saying anything, Knox punched Ben in the face. Delivered a powerful punch because his father had told Knox to do so. Ben understood that Knox had been sent by his father, so he asked for time to set things right. Meanwhile, on the other side, Eli drove Dalton back, and as soon as she came out, she saw that two officers had arrested Dalton. In addition, there was a sheriff there who worked for Ben. He tried to threaten Dalton, but there wasn't even a wrinkle on Dalton's forehead, so the sheriff told his men to throw Dalton out, and decided to end his story right there. But at the last moment, Ellie came there and slapped the sheriff hard. Then she ran away with Dalton and revealed that the sheriff is her father. Some time ago, she had run away from home with her mother. Ellie revealed that her father is an old associate of Gerald and now works for Ben. Ellie was quite worried about Dalton, so she asked Dalton to leave this town and go somewhere else. I seen. At night, when Dalton returned to the roadhouse, he was a bit troubled. Laura asked him about it, but this made him He was a little upset. Laura asked him about it, but before he could say anything, Ben came in front of him. He showed Dalton the video of his last UFC match, where his friend won. This made Dalton angry, and he beat him badly. Then Ben asked him why he didn't control himself. But Dalton did not respond. He remained completely calm. After that, Ben went outside and met Knox. Then, within moments, Knox and his thugs stormed into the roadhouse and started causing a ruckus. Bailey and Reeve together confronted them, but even then, Dalton stood completely calm despite all this. Suddenly, when Knox challenged him to a fight, Dalton jumped on him and thrashed him severely. Soon the police arrived, so Knox stopped the fight. Soon Dalton also started heading towards his boat. Ailey tried to stop him, but he didn't stop. Now he was ready to sit in his boat and leave the city.
But before he could leave, Frankie arrived there.
Anton dodged and apologized for hiding things from him. He said that Ben wants to build his luxurious resort, but it did not affect Dalton. He left despite Frankie's pleas. Meanwhile, Ben received news that Knox failed to kill Dalton. Moreover, another squad of police arrived, which ruined all his plans. Meanwhile, Dalton, feeling disappointed, took all his belongings and reached the bus stand. But there he saw that Charlie's bookstore was severely destroyed. When he found out that Charlie and his father were in the hospital, he felt devastated. He was so angry that he went directly to Knox's house. There he saw Vince alone. As soon as he learned that Vince was involved in burning the bookstore, he broke Vince's spine without hesitation. When Vince was struggling in the pool, Dalton realized that the demon inside him had awakened. Then he placed Vince's body in his truck, and at that moment, a thug named Mo arrived there. In exchange for sparing his life, Dalton demanded secret information and found out that Ben's entire black money was going to arrive at a secret location tomorrow morning. Mo provided him with the location and ran away to save his life. At night, Dalton once again caught a glimpse of that painful fight where he had taken his friend's life. Anyway, as soon as morning came, Dalton got to work and killed the police officer guarding Ben's black money. After that, he put all the money in a boat and sent it away. But the job wasn't done yet. He picked up the police officer's gun and shot Vince. He was made responsible for Vince's death. This the policeman started to regain consciousness. Dalton struck him on the head in such a way that he would suffer from short-term memory loss, meaning he wouldn't remember anything from the past few hours. Now Dalton was preparing some bombs when suddenly the sheriff arrived there. He told that Ben has kidnapped his daughter Ellie and is demanding his black money in exchange for her life. At first, Dalton pretended that he didn't know about any money, but when he got worried about Ellie's life, he directly asked when and where he has to meet Ben. After the sheriff left, Dalton took Dex's boat and set out to meet Ben. Meanwhile, we see that when Knox returned home, there was an unusual silence. Anyway, when Dalton reached Ben's boat, he met Sam. Sam said that Ben would not be happy to see him because he came without money. When Dalton gave him a nonsensical answer, Sam angrily punched him. The sheriff was also there and told Dalton that Eli was perfectly fine. And he lied to trap Dalton in Ben's clutches. But then Ben revealed that he had actually kidnapped Ellie, which made the sheriff very angry. When Ben saw that Dalton came empty-handed, he told Sam to give Dalton a good beating and also threatened Ellie's life. But just then, Knox's boat arrived there, so Dalton took his boat